Hello, I want to ask you a question today. But this isn't the kind of question you can answer right away. This is a deep question that requires you to look inside yourself with honesty. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt you couldn't fully recognize the person in the reflection? Yes, that face is your face. Those eyes are your eyes. But it's as if the person living inside that body, the one behind that smile, isn't the real you. As if in this grand theater stage called life, you were given a role. And you've been playing it for so long, and so well, that you've forgotten the real you that exists when the role ends and the curtain closes. You know that feeling, right? You try to please everyone. You meet your family's expectations. You do what's expected of you at work. You become the person you're supposed to be among your friends. Everyone is pleased with you. On paper, everything is fine. You are successful. You are liked. But when night falls and you lay your head on the pillow, when you put aside those roles and titles, in the silence that remains, you hear a whisper from within. But what about me? Where is the real me? Today, we are going to follow the trail of that very whisper. Perhaps we are about to embark on the most important journey of your life, the journey to find yourself. Because I'm going to tell you a big secret. Perhaps the life you've lived until now was not your real life. It was just a rehearsal, a trailer. The real movie, the real adventure, begins when you find yourself on this journey. The wise guide, the cartographer of the human soul, Carl Jung, will accompany us. He will show us how to look behind the invisible masks we wear on our faces, how to discover the dark yet powerful treasures within us, and how to ultimately transcend our limited sense of self and reach the whole. If you're ready, let's begin the journey to your greatest adventure, the path towards yourself. Act 1. Our mask, the persona. It all starts with a mask. We all wear a mask. Jung gave it a striking name, persona. The persona is the face we show to the world. It is the social identity we adopt to be accepted, loved, and to survive in society. The well-behaved student mask at school, the hard-working professional mask at work, the dutiful child mask within the family, the cheerful friend mask among friends. These are actually necessary. Just like an astronaut needs a special suit to survive in the void of space, we too need these masks to live in society. They protect us and regulate our relationships. The real problem is not in wearing the mask. The problem is when you wear it for so long that you forget to take it off. Even worse, you start to believe that the mask is your real face. That is when your life cannot move beyond a rehearsal. Because the one on stage is not you, it's only your mask. To explain this better, let me tell you a story. Arta's story. Arta is a man in his late 30s whom everyone looks up to with admiration. A senior executive in a good company, he has a nice house and car. He is the pride of his family, the person his friends rely on, known as the solid one. Arta's persona is the successful and responsible man mask. He wears this mask so perfectly that no one can see behind it. In meetings, he makes the most sensible decisions. He handles the most challenging projects. When his family is in trouble, he's the first to run to them, providing all kinds of support. When out with friends, he usually picks up the tab. They seek his advice in difficult times. Arta is a pillar of support for everyone, but there is another Arta that no one sees. That Arta is the one who, every night when he returns home in his car, parks and turns off the engine, then sits in silence in the dark for 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes are when Arta slowly removes all the masks he wore throughout the day. And when the masks come off, what remains is a deep fatigue and an indescribable feeling of emptiness. The life Arta is living is not his own life. He is playing the role assigned to him by his father, society, his boss. And playing this role drains all his life energy. He is not the protagonist of his own life, but an extra in a script written by others. This is the first step. The journey to find yourself begins by recognizing the false. By feeling the mask on your face, understanding what it costs you, and realizing who it prevents you from truly being. Act 2, our dark sibling, the shadow. So, what happens to the other parts of us that we reject and repress because they don't fit this mask? This is where we come to one of Jung's most powerful concepts, the shadow. The shadow is where all the traits we reject, repress, and cannot reconcile with our self-image gather because they don't fit our persona. This is our dark side. Our anger, jealousy, laziness, fears hide there. But not just these. Our repressed potential, our excluded dreams, our artistic spirit, our adventurous side are also there. The shadow is where both monsters and treasures are hidden. And we are so afraid of this shadow that we even deny its existence. We banish it to the deepest dungeons of our unconscious. But it never stops calling to us from there. It manifests in our dreams, in our slips of the tongue, in our sudden outbursts of anger. The more energy we spend trying to suppress it, the stronger it becomes. Life does not begin until you bring the treasures in this shadow into the light. As long as you try to live only with your bright, good, acceptable sides, you are a half person. And a half person cannot live a full life. Act 3, the DNA of the soul, archetypes. But is there an even deeper level? Are we made only of masks and shadows from our personal history? According to Jung, no. There is a much deeper, more ancient layer. And this is where things get truly magical. Jung says that beneath our personal unconscious lies an ocean that is the common heritage of all humanity, the collective unconscious. In this ocean reside the traces and patterns of the fundamental experiences, stories, and characters that have repeated since the dawn of humanity. These are called archetypes. You can think of them as the DNA of our soul. For example, we all have a hero archetype within us. It is the part of us that wants to fight difficulties, overcome obstacles, and struggle for a purpose. Arta's success in his professional life could be a reflection of this archetype. But if this archetype gets out of control, the person can turn into a constant fighter who doesn't know how to rest. We all have a wise old man-woman archetype, the part of us that seeks knowledge and insight. An innocent child archetype, our pure, curious, and playful side. And many more, mother, father, magician, warrior, lover. We are not a play consisting of a single role. Inside us, there's a vast cast made up of all these archetypes. The process of finding yourself is the art of recognizing these inner characters, hearing their voices, and allowing them to play their roles on the stage of life in a balanced way. If Arta only listens to the hero and responsible man archetypes, he becomes spiritually one-dimensional, rigid, and fragile. Real life begins when all these inner forces, these archetypes, start to dance in harmony. The summit, the real self. Now, let's come to the peak of this journey. We noticed the mask, we descended into the shadow, we met the archetypes. So who is the one experiencing all this, observing all this? What is that thing we call I? Here is our final stop, the ego and the real self, the identity we think we are. I am an engineer. I am a mother. I am successful. I am anxious. According to Jung, the ego is the center of our conscious mind. It is the manager of our personal history, memories, and thoughts. And it is certainly necessary for our survival. However, our greatest illusion is believing that we are only this ego. The ego is like an island in the ocean, but we are the ocean itself. Jung calls this ocean, this all-encompassing wholeness, the self. The self includes not only the small conscious island that is the ego, but also the infinite depths of the unconscious, the shadow, all the archetypes, everything. It is our essence. It is our wisest, most whole state within us. We usually spend the first half of our lives building that small island, the ego. With identity, career, family, we strengthen our island. But at some point, usually in midlife, this island starts to feel insufficient. Its boundaries feel too tight for our soul. This is where the famous midlife crisis, those existential pains, begin. These crises are not disasters. They are a call from the self, from the ocean to the island. Come, remember that you are not just this island. Set sail into the ocean. Finding yourself is saying yes to this call. It is having the courage to leave that safe, familiar island, the ego, and set sail for the unknown ocean, the self. This is not about destroying the ego, but about placing it in its rightful place, into the service of the self. So what happens when this occurs? You no longer define yourself with a limited identity like Arda, the successful executive. You know that you can also be an artist, a traveler, and so much more. You don't shatter when criticized, because that criticism has only hit a corner of the island. Nothing happens to you, who are the ocean. Your fear of failure diminishes, because your worth is no longer measured solely by the grandeur of the buildings on your island. You flow more with life, because you learn that you cannot control the ocean. You must move in harmony with it. That is exactly when life begins. When you live not with fear, but with trust. Not by acting, but by being yourself. Not feeling half, but feeling whole. Now, at the end of this long journey, I want to ask you, what is the mask you wear the most? The one that's almost glued to your face? Think about it for a moment and share it in the comments if you like. I hope this conversation has been a light for you on the path to remembering your true self. Be kind to yourself. Show love to all the characters within you. Until we meet again, take care.